I want to review the 5 processes of media convergence that Henry Jenkins distinguishes. Henry Jenkins is a provost professor at the University of Southern California, but was a director of the MIT Comparative Media Studies program for more than a decade. He also has a very delightful and funny website with great information on his studies and research. There are 5 processes of media convergence that Jenkins talks about. Very basically, media convergence is how all types of communication and information technologies may be interconnected or merged. I like the quote that Jenkins said, "Convergence isn't an end result, but instead a process that changes how media is both consumed and produced." With the time limit, I'm going to give just a very basic overview of each type and then really delve more into the examples and explain what they are and how each type of convergence has an educational implication. So I'll start with economic convergence. Economic convergence is when a single company has interest across many kinds of media. So an example of this is when Meta or Facebook bought and now owns Instagram, which is more visual photos and videos. And they also own WhatsApp, which is mainly a chat tool. A bunch of other ones, but also Onavo, which is used for mobile web analytics. So a bunch of different types of platforms owned by one company. This may be a small part of economic convergence in education, but I think that in the future, companies like Apple or Google may have a full suite of educational platforms that encompasses all the tools that students may require to do their schoolwork. So they may ensure that those tools will not work with any other devices that are not part of this company. I see this already a little bit with Apple and Mac computers not working well with PC products, forcing students to use all the Mac video editing softwares, music platforms, and educational software. So I'm curious in the future if this will become more siloed and students will need to be educated in maybe all of the Google suite only in their school, or all the Apple suite only platform software and not be educated in others. Organic convergence is multimedia multitasking, or the natural outcome of a diverse media world. So, for example, this is when I am watching Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat on Netflix, reading an article for this class on my computer, and texting with my friend on the phone at the same time, talking about the article or something else. I would say that this has not impacted the educational world enough. We are living in a time when it is so intuitive for people to utilize multiple machines and platforms at once. In that way, I think we can begin to bring in that ability into the classroom to try and mirror how students informally learn and how they formally learn. I'm curious if we allow students to educate themselves in this way, if the topics would stick more than pushing, I'm going to say, antiquated idea of reading text as the appropriate and formal way to learn. Cultural convergence is when stories flow across several kinds of media platforms. And another way to say is when readers or viewers can comment on or alter or otherwise talk back to culture. So an example would be when one of my favorite books would be made into a movie and a comic book, or when I make a YouTube video commenting on the latest TV series I watched on Disney+. I actually love this type of convergence for education. I think it makes a larger, more welcoming place for learners in a way that works for them and will open the door for more usability and equitability for learners with any issues accessing typical types of educational documents like text. Having one type of media, like a book, made into a movie, audiobook, or comic will allow for so much more access and hopefully a bit more fun too. Global convergence is when geographically distant cultures are able to influence one another. So an example would be when K-pop took over or is taking over Canada, and BTS gets mobbed in person and online when they go on tour in Canada and the States, really influencing how Canadian pop bands make music and how their music videos are made. Also, these YouTube videos we watch, like mukbang, and the food that we eat. The educational impact can be a positive one, as with more cultural convergence and influence, we can learn how other cultures experience the world and learn from their perspective. And in that way, gain empathy and new ideas, have educate, learn, and experience the classroom and our topic. Technological convergence is when different types of technology merge. The most extreme example of technological convergence would be when one machine that controls every media function. So an example is when I can watch the latest episode of Working Moms on my iPhone on the bus to work, then quickly switch to sending my boss an email and downloading a music album all on my iPhone. This has a major impact for education and usability because one student can use their mobile phone to access their readings for school, videos that may have educational content on them, maybe they're pre-recorded Zoom lectures, all on one device. It allows students to get everything in one place and not have a large expensive textbooks or a desktop computer or other items that are required to get access to all their content. I think that it also allows them to learn on one of the items that they're most comfortable with and is most accessible to them, which is their iPhone.